The waitress could tell something was wrong as the child sat down with his parents. It wasn't just the sad look of desperation in his eyes that caught her attention. There was something even more unsettling. She struggled with what to do and felt doubt creeping in. What should she do? Her doubts disappeared when the boy handed her a note. Evil can be hidden from view and is often overlooked. When it's disguised as something else, that's when it becomes most dangerous. However, people prefer to avoid problems that are not their own and choose not to look deeper. Thankfully, not everyone chooses to do so, and this story speaks of someone who chose to get involved. This story shows how we often choose to ignore situations to make things easier for ourselves. Flavane Carvalho is someone who is not afraid to step in when she sees something is wrong. She is a role model for all of us that we can learn from. Flavane Carvalho saw all sorts of things while working in the service industry at a restaurant called Mrs. Potato in St. Petersburg, Florida. She was good at reading her customers and distinguishing her problem customers from her easier ones. She knew which of them had something to hide and which were going through something personal and needed a few kind words. On New Year's Day, she faced something very different. The day had started as expected, with few diners in the restaurant and everyone else in town recovering from New Year's Eve. The regulars had wished the staff a Happy New Year, making for a relatively quiet day. Flavane and her colleagues could relax, but the atmosphere would change in minutes. After a while, the crowd began to come in for dinner. Many regulars were among them, looking for a warm plate of food after the previous evening's extensive celebrations. Flavane eventually noticed customers she had never seen before and became curious. Something caught her attention as she watched them find their seats at one of the tables. It was a family of three: the mother, the father, and Flavane assumed her son. She questioned her guests when she saw something else. This was not a typical family that was visibly affectionate and loving. Flavane's head started spinning as she noticed that the boy seemed sad and scared of being with his parents. She wondered if her behavior could be explained. Had the boy thrown a tantrum before they came in? But what if it was something more? Flavane was getting restless but trying to think things through. As she walked over to take her order, she tried her best to calm herself. She knew her instinct was right when she saw it. Confused when they only ordered 2 meals, Flavane asked if the boy wanted anything to eat. They replied that he would eat at home. Things didn't go well for Flavane. She turned to face the boy and saw something that made her do something specific. Flavane described noticing a large scratch between his eyebrows before noticing the bruise on the side of his eye. Speaking to the media, she said something was really wrong. She knew she couldn't let it slip once she had put all the signs together. She wasn't sure if these people were the child's parents, but all she knew was that the child needed help. Once, while their meals were being prepared, the 2 adults got up from the table and went outside to smoke. Flavane walked quietly to the table and handed the child a note that read, "Need help," along with a pen. She came back a few seconds later. The boy had written "Oak" in the note below Flavane's question. The waitress nodded to him and immediately put her plan into action. Immediately, Flavane went into the kitchen, told one of her co-workers to keep an eye on the family, and asked to use the restaurant's phone. Then she dialed 911. There was nothing else she could do in the situation. Who knew how dangerous these people could be? The content of this call was recorded and recently made available to the media. Flavane is heard saying to the operator, "I'm very worried and I don't know what to do. Any advice you can give me?" Flavane can be heard asking the operator. The boy has bruises and is not eating. Shortly thereafter, a group of officers appeared at the restaurant. They walked through the door and approached the family without hesitation. From that point on, it started. The truth finally came out. The officers immediately took the boy away and questioned him. As it turned out, and as Flavane had reasonably guessed, the man who was there wasn't really his father. He was his stepfather. The boy claimed he regularly abused him, often denying him food as punishment. And that wasn't even the scariest part. The boy had been subjected to endless abuse and mistreatment for months. The man and the child's mother were immediately arrested. They are currently awaiting trial and the child is safely living with a relative. Only God knows what could have happened if the kind-hearted waitress hadn't followed her gut and done the right thing. Many people would have thought that how 2 parents treat their child was none of their business, but not Flavane. We can all learn from their example. To protect the privacy of those depicted, some names, locations, and identifiers have been changed and are the product of the author's imagination. Any resemblance to any actual event or place or person, living or dead, is purely coincidental.